Welcome back to the second hour of the Roundup. Coming up this hour, our top 8 contenders. Plus, we need your Coach of the Year points, Matty, and we'll be doing what they said and what they meant. Plenty of time always for your thoughts. 0457 736 736 listeners, or 1300 01 1170 is that open line number. Before we hook into this, here's one from the Spring Farm Eagle. Says, boys, I went to the Women's World Cup last night. It was like being in Colombia. If you get the chance, watch the national anthem. It is dead set one of the most goosebumps moment that I've seen. I've never seen a crowd get into it like they did last night. Honestly, this World Cup is amazing for women's sport. I didn't personally think that I would like it, says the Spring Farm Eagle, but after attending, absolutely I'm a fan now and really hope one day Australia can have the Men's World Cup as well. So, yeah, I mean, it is massive. And if Australia can continue tonight, if the Matildas can go through, because New Zealand have been knocked out, Johnsy, so we've got one of the co-hosts out and we need Australia to keep on going. But I haven't got to a game, but it's certainly investing a lot of people.
It's a real shame, Matty, that there hasn't been more on free-to-air TV. Like I would have, of course we have a special interest in Australia, but I'd have loved to have seen, the Brazilians versus the French, so on and so forth. It's a real shame that they've only, on free-to-air TV, only sort of done the Matildas game. I think it deserved a lot more than that.
Yeah, it caught a lot of people on the hop, that too. I mean, it was put out there by Channel 7 that's what they were doing. But once the thing got going, that caught a few people out because not so much that all games weren't on free-to-air, but that everyone had to pay. I think it's $29 for Optus Sport to pay for the rest of them, so to speak. So it's the modern day face. It's the modern day face to broadcasting. That's it. 0457 736 736. Righto, you ready to go through our top 8 contenders? We're heading into round 23 of round 27. So we're looking at positions 6 through to 11. So perhaps just before we get there, I'll run you through the order of the ladder at the moment. Panthers on top on 34, so too are the Broncos. Panthers have played 19 games, Bronx have played 20, but they've got the bye to come. The Warriors are there in third on 30 points, and the Storm are 4th on 30. The Raiders, 28 points in 5th. Then we get to the Rabbitohs, Sharks, and Cowboys, 6, 7, and 8, all on 26 points. 9, 10, and 11 are the Knights, Seagulls, and the Eels on 24, and just outside of that, we got Titans, Dolphins, Roosters all on 22, but we're going to focus on 6 through to 11. So let's start with the Rabbitohs, Matty. 26 points. Now, here's the interesting thing. They've got the Sharks this week. That's in Perth. They've got the Dragons the week after in Cairns. Then they play Newcastle away. Then they've got the bye, and then the Roosters. So in the run home, they've only got one game in their own backyard, and it's the last match against the Roosters.
But, Matty, I expect significant improvement in these coming weeks with South, because you'll see Latrell. He'll just get better and better and better. He had some really nice touches. He's sort of in and out of the contest. It was a good first game back. I see South, if they can improve the way I expect them to do, I think they can win 5 from 4. Well, they got the bye, of course, but win those other 4. I can see them going undefeated at the final series and ended up in 36 points. And if they do that, then they look at. I know we're only get focus on that 6-11, but if they can do that, then they could possibly compete with Melbourne Storm for 4th spot, and Raiders as well. Raiders, I expect them to finish on around 34. Look, Matty, this is what I've got. Okay. I've got, Penrith Broncos, Warriors, which I think will almost certain, in my opinion, finish 3rd, and you've got, let's say, the Melbourne Storm. But then I've got Souths, 5th. I've got the Raiders at 6th. I've got the Cowboys at 7th, and I've got the Knights at 8th. The Knights have got a much better points differential than Manly, and look, the Sharks, they have. If the Sharks are going to play finals football, they got a pretty tough run home. They are going to have to turn their season around right now and start to find close to top form. The Eels, of course, can make it. They did a great run at the back end of last year, but I don't see them making it. They've still got to buy up their sleep, but they've also got to play the Broncos and the Panthers. Are they capable? Yeah, sure, but I just don't have them in there. And Manly have been too inconsistent, and as I said before, their points differential could hurt them.
Okay, so you've got Penrith, Brisbane, Warriors, Storm as your top four. Then you've got South Sydney, Raiders, Cowboys, and Knights. 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I've got them placed.
All right. Well, let's continue to run through who's got to face what. By the way, on the Rabbitohs, just an interesting quirk of the way that the season has panned out for them. Their next home game, as I mentioned, mate, is their last one, which is September 1st. You have to go back almost 2 full months to find their last home match in Sydney. And you've got to go back to May to find the last time that they won at home. So it's been lean pickings for Rabbitohs fans in their own backyard. But they won't care about that if they make the finals.
And what a game it'll be up against the Roosters, where the Rabbitohs fans haven't seen them for a long time. Who knows? There could be a top 4 spot up for grabs, or who knows? They might need to win to even play finals football, and against the Roosters. It'll be a monster game. That
one's at a core stadium. Jimmy Smith and I were chatting about this morning. Why wouldn't you just move it to Allianz? You get, essentially both home games, really, and you just get a massive crowd. You get a good crowd at a core, but I think you get a better feel at Allianz. But that's where it's going to be. I mean, there'll be plenty of that.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt, Matty. No doubt.
Let's take a look at the Sharks. So you got the Bunnies finishing with a heck of a run home, 5 from 5, including that bye, obviously, and a possible 36 points. The Sharks, their run home. So they've got the Rabbitohs. Then they've got the Titans at home, the Cowboys away, the Knights away, and the Raiders at home. It's the trickiest, I reckon, of runs.
Yeah, it's the trickiest of runs, and most of the sides that they play there are sides that are going to compete with them getting that 6th, 7th, or 8th spot. So there's some big, that big what they call 4-pointers there. So look, they're capable, but like I said before, if you're doing a form line, then I don't see them winning the majority of those games. But things can, as we saw with the Cowboys yesterday, things can just turn on a dime.
I did see a quote, Matty, where Craig Fitzgibbon had said, we're going to go down swinging. And I see what he's trying to say, but I went, hang on a second, aren't you in the 8? You don't be talking about going down at all. I think it was just I don't know if it was a throwaway line, but it piqued my interest.
Yeah, Matty, I read about this last Friday. It's interesting. Fitzy, he'd be sitting there at the moment, mulling over, okay, what do I have to do here? Chris Anderson said, a coach doesn't know what sort of coach he is until he finds that he sides in a hole, and he's got to get him out. And that, the first time that a coach is faced with that. Now, Fitzy has shown himself to be a real players coach. He's not a ranter. He's not a raver. He's very measured. His players love him. But he'd be sitting there at the moment going, okay, but what sort of coach do I have to be to get this side back on the rails and get them into the finals?
Darren from Narrabeen has sent through a text, Matty, on Craig Fitzgibbon. He said, why is he totally immune from any criticism by those in the media? Goes on to say that there are others who are under target. It's baffling, and another example of how media target some coaches and then protect others. Yeah. Is Craig Fitzgibbon immune?
Oh, well, he's not immune, but it's right. He's very much slipped under the radar as far as criticism is concerned. But he knows it's going to. If they don't play finals football, it's going to come.
Yeah, exactly. He's been around long enough to know that. 0457 736 736. John says, hence why I'm not renewing my membership next year. Souths have no respect for their fans. For a so-called national brand, they should never have to sell or move home games.
No, well, they've had to because of the World Cup, Soccer World Cup. Souths wouldn't want to be on the road all this time. It's just purely they've had to. It's been other circumstances, not their decision. Yeah,
like I said, one of the weird quirks of this season and the back end run. But Bunnies fans, you haven't had a lot to look at in your own backyard. But look, you get that Roosters match at the end of the year, and then all things being equal, you go through to the finals. Now, let's take a look at the Cowboys. So talk about tricky runs. Broncos in a huge one this weekend. Then they've got the bye. Then Sharks, Dolphins, and Panthers. They played the Panthers in the last round last year, But Penrith had already claimed the minor premiership by then. And remember, they rested their stars, Matty.
Yes.
And Cowboys smacked them by 30 points. So here they go again. Final round, v Penrith. Chance that Penrith have wrapped up the minor premiership or definitely wrapped up a finals spot.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they serve up against the Broncos, the Cowboys. Massive game. And then they got the bye, as you said, after that. So there's a real chance they go into their bye. They lost a couple in a row. That successful run, that great run of form, the momentum has been broken, and how they come out of that. And you're right, it's that Panthers game at the end. Does Ivan, rest his stars? He's probably likely to, which benefits. It's what, Matty, at this time of the year, there's so many teams. In fact, most clubs, they look back through the season at the game they dropped and they weren't quite on their game. And they dropped the 2 points and go, if only.
If only is a good question. I'll turn my microphone on for that one. If only is a good question for Newcastle too. 25 points, so differential plus 72. They've got the Dolphins over in Perth in that doubleheader. Then Bulldogs, Bunnies, Sharks, and Dragons. If Kalen Ponga stays fit and stays in the kind of form that he's in, you've got them charging into 8th.
I do. But you're right, Matty. Very much it's about Kalen Ponga staying on the field. Newcastle are one of those sides that when Kalen is in tip-top form, his confidence just runs through the football side and all the players. But if something happens and he goes down with any sort of injury, then the confidence as quickly can just evaporate out of the side.
The Seagulls on the same amount of points. Roosters, Panthers, Warriors, Bulldogs, and West Tigers. So they've got Panthers, Warriors in the smack bang in the middle of this. I mean, they have to just keep on winning, but that draw could be help or hindrance.
Yes, spot on, Matty. The Warriors and the Penrith game, that will decide their season.
Yeah, and then we've got the Eels currently in 11th on 24 points. A lot of focus, obviously, not only on who they're playing in the lead-up to, but the fact that they've got the bye in the last round. They might need it. They might wish they didn't have it.
Yeah, that's right, Matty. And look, and once again, as I said at the top, it shows you that bye, that draw that the Knights and Manly had in Mudgee could be crucial, particularly as far as the Eels are concerned.
Okay, so on the text line, Nathan says, I think the question is, who do we want to see sneak into the 8 and what teams can actually cause some damage? For him, Sharks, no. Eels, no. Titans, no. Knights, no. Cowboys, Roosters and Manly, yes. So that's probably around the who can cause some damage. So Penrith, Brisbane, Warriors, Storm, Souths, the Raiders, Cowboys and Knights are Matty's top 8 heading into the finals with 5 full matches to go. So there you go. That's the run home. 0457 736 736 or 1300 01 1170. Back after this. Our Snap judgments, thanks to Snap Fitness, got you covered. You can visit your local Snap Fitness to find out more at snapfitness.com.au. So let's start yesterday. Let's start with the Bulldogs. So Bulldogs v Dolphins, 23 points to 22 in Bundaberg. Your Snap judgment on this one?
Matty, my snap judgment, when I was just running through some of these sides that are competing, the top, those last 11 or 12 sides, and a number of them have got the Bulldogs. And my gut feel, the Bulldogs are going to have a little bit of a kick at the end of this season, be a tricky side. That you can see yesterday what a different team they are with Viliami Kikau. You'll see as he and Burton start to form combination that it'll be really good for Burton, give Burton a confidence boost. I think that might be a tricky side. That's a big loss for the Dolphins. If they win that game yesterday, then they go to Perth this weekend against the Newcastle Knights with a big incentive to win that would put them just in the reckoning for a final spot. But Jermaine Asako, of course, he had the opportunity to win it, missed it, and isn't it funny? Like Matt Burton kicked a field goal just before half time to make it 11-8. And everyone went, what were they doing? I think even Vossi, he was commentating the game, just, what was that? They cut up to the camera Sorella in the box, and he had that look on his face. But at the end, it was that field goal that split them.
They won 8 matches, lost 11, had their 3 buys, their 13th on the ladder the Dolphins. The Titans defeated the Cowboys 22-13 at Seabus Super Stadium. So the Titans make sure that they're there or thereabouts. The big worry for the Cowboys, and we'll find out a little bit later this morning, Valentine home. So sin bin Matty for the second week in a row. The high shot on Jaden Campbell. Now, he was falling away in the tackle, so I reckon they'll put that as part of their defence, but it was pretty heavy contact.
I think he'll miss a few weeks. I think he will, Val, and that's a big loss yesterday, Matty. They've got the Broncos this week, which is going to be a huge game up there in Queensland, but that's a costly loss. Going through what they got, it's not a bad run home. I've got them winning 3 out of the last 5 and landing on 32 points, but that loss yesterday, Matty, places them under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it sure does. Let's go to Saturday's matches. So Panthers 28 blot over the Sharks at Bluebet Stadium. So two sides of this story, and it's pretty easy in one sense. The Panthers are rolling right at the right time again. I don't know how much further we can sort of say where they're at, but the Sharks, third loss in a row, an average of 34 points that they've had in those 3 losses. Will Kennedy's set to miss the rest of the season. So how do you view the other side here versus the side that's flying?
It's interesting, Matty, because my initial thoughts when you watch the game, we go, oh, wow, that's a big loss. Geez, and as I said at the top, the Sharks, for all intents and purposes, you go, they're completely out of form. However, you look at the other side, you look at how well Penrith are playing and how well Nathan Cleary played. He put on a kicking masterclass. Then, we might look ahead in the next few weeks and say, you know what? It was 28-0, but it was a byproduct of Penrith that would have done that to just about any other side. So I'm really curious how Sharks come up this week. Mate, Nathan, just his tactical awareness, that game, that second 40-20 he kicked, where he went backwards a couple of metres to place himself within the 40-metre realm and then still nailed the 40-20. So he's gone back, so he's kicking on the back foot and still find that the 40-20 and nail the kick was extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. And right at the right time, again, when we look at the Sharks, we will take a look in detail at their run home because they're in that zone. We're going to take a look a bit later on, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. So we'll take a look at the run home for the Sharks. Now, the Seagulls defeated the Dragons 24-18 at Wynn Stadium. Daly Cherry Evans rolls out for his 300th match. We've already touched on the Jack DeBellin situation. DCE, what an absolute stalwart, and the Seagulls keep punching.
They keep punching. It was a very manly performance as far as symbolising what they've been about in 2023, Matty. There were times during the match you're going, wow, look at Manly go, what a try, look at that ball movement. And other periods in the game where they looked really poor, I thought they looked frivolous with the ball and they looked vulnerable defensively. That's been the tail of the tape with Manly. There were games this year where they turned up from the opening set, you go, look at this. Like the game that comes to mind is their win over the Melbourne Storm at home. They just physically just dominated Melbourne, but there's been other performances that they just haven't been there physically or mentally. Such a hard side to get a handle on. But Daly Cherry Evans, you're right, had an extraordinary rookie year in 2011, Daly. Come in, they win the competition. He went away at the end of the year, represented Australia, but he's playing better football now. He's, there was a period in his career too, Matty, where, he was on the nose. There were certain things, but I tell you, the way he's developed, his maturity now, it's outstanding. The way he conducts himself both on and off the field is first class.
Yeah, he's definitely leaving a legacy behind, more than just 300 NRL matches. So the Dragons go down in that one. The Seagulls 24 points to 18. They've got a tough run home. The Knights, as you mentioned, 28-6 over the Raiders here. So the Raiders outside the top 4 after their second consecutive loss.
Yes. The Raiders, interesting. That was really unlike the Raiders in the fact that the Raiders this year, every single game they've played, win, lose, that's been really tight. I think the biggest winning margin was 10 points. And so to get out there and 20-0 at half time, just shows you, and that mentally they just weren't on top of the game. Another evidence of that line dropout where time expired. That's an example of where their heads were. How they just weren't on. Newcastle, on the other hand, look, Kalen Ponga is just in such great form. Yeah, they must be ruining. Adam O'Brien must be ruining the fact that that little period at the start of the year where they had him at 6, where Kalen went and said, I want to play 6, and he allowed him to. If he had his time again, of course, Adam, he'd say, absolutely no way, mate. Maybe in 18 months, 2 years, but we need you at fullback. The moment he's gone back to fullback, he's just rediscovered his best form, and his last month has been as good as I've ever seen him play. If Kalen stays fit on the field, Newcastle will play finals football. Just having a look at their run home, I think they'll get there. And he was really good. I mean, Kalen's sweet spot is on that left-hand side of the field, but against the Raiders, he was just going down the right. He'd obviously picked something up on tape. He just tortured them down the right side.
Friday's matches, Storm v Eels, 46 points to 16 at Marvel Stadium. Jerome Hughes, sensational. Rabbitohs defeated the West Tigers 32-18 at Scully Park in Tamworth. If you're a Rabbitohs fan who would like to see them in the run home, well, you're going to have to wait until the last round. We'll touch on that shortly. And the Broncos defeated the Roosters 32 points to 10 to kick off round 22 on Thursday night at the Gabba. Snap fitness for the feeling. Danny Weidler on Twitter is reporting, Matty, that Adam O'Brien has been told in a meeting this morning that he's certain he will coach at the Newcastle Knights next year. So they've made that official to the coach face-to-face this morning.
Yeah, well, that puts that to bed.
Absolutely.
Settles things down a little bit. But it's funny, like when when Adam was told that, when all that stuff started coming on, that Adam's job was on the line. It's funny because the side went through the roof. Maybe they're better off just holding on for a little bit. Maybe it worked.
Maybe it worked.
Yeah. So, but that is, that certainly puts Adam's mind at rest.
Absolutely. Back after this with a Ned's update.